So just in answer to your questions, the first one being that you've seen a number of babies abandoned in South Africa for years now, and can I give you any stats? I mean, the honest answer is I can't give any stats. The only people who can really give proper stats is government. And for some reason, the Department of Social Development either doesn't want to give the stats or is not keeping the stats of how many children are abandoned in South Africa, and not for want of asking. We've been asking government to give us the stats of abandoned babies literally since I've been in the community, which is for the last decade, the last 10 years. Just to give you some indication of numbers, when I did my research, it happened to be in 2013, which was just post 2010, and there was a massive surge in abandonments in 2010. Child Welfare South Africa, with Durban, Johannesburg and Cape Town, collectively estimated that around 3,500 children were abandoned into their care in 2010, which was noted as a considerable spike. Since then, however, the numbers haven't really declined. I did further work with child protection organizations and places of safety and baby homes in 2016, 2017, and the number at that stage was just over 3,000 babies we estimated abandoned into care at that stage. As I say, until government actually shares the statistics or starts actually taking down the statistics, we won't know how many children are abandoned in South Africa. I think another important proviso is that when I was doing my research in 2013, 2014, there was some research done amongst the morgues in Johannesburg. And again, they don't keep the stats of how many abandoned children are found who die. But they did estimate that of every child who is abandoned and is found alive, at least 2 die. So the number is staggering, and it's a major, major challenge, and something we really need to get on top of. The second question, you've been reliably told that the number of babies went up during lockdown, and what is the comment, and do I have stats? Again, I don't have any stats on that. Once again, government should really take responsibility for providing statistics on child abandonment during the lockdown period. In saying that, however, a very well-known a place of safety for children, Door of Hope, did some research amongst, I think it was 24 baby homes after 3 months of lockdown. And after 3 months, they'd taken in over those 24 places of safety had taken in 118 babies, of which around 60 had been abandoned. So more than 50% of those babies had been abandoned into care with them, and which they'd noted was a significant increase for them. There were some other issues though. The reality is that during lockdown, the child protection organizations run by government and the government Department of Child Protection pretty much went on holiday for 3 months, shut their doors, and no one could get hold of them. So in fact, government's response to the increase in child abandonment during lockdown was to ignore it. And in fact, when reports came out of the increased abandonments, they accused the child protection organizations of not informing them of these children who had been abandoned, and essentially accusing them of keeping that information to themselves. In reality, what had happened was they had informed them. They'd sent through all the information to the offices of the Department of Social Development, and unfortunately there was no one there to collect the information. So I guess the question is, who's the abandoner here? It sounds distinctly like it's actually the Department of Social Development. On your issue of, do I think government's done enough? No, I do not think government's done enough. They do a very poor effort at trying to raise awareness for around crisis pregnancy and the option of placing your child into care, foster care or temporary safe care in an institution, or in fact the option of adoption. But really, no, there's not much work being done there. I would think the most amount of work being done is by caring individuals and other child protection organizations like Door of Hope. And of course, the National Adoption Coalition of South Africa has done an enormous amount of work creating awareness around this issue. They also have a sort of a call center or crisis center, which you can send a WhatsApp to, or email, or just go onto their website, which is crisispregnancy.org.za or adoption.org.za, and all of the information you require around finding places to assist you can find in those places. What else have we got here? What is the cause? And why do I think women resort to this? Well, in my research, I'm going to start that again. In my research, when I was speaking to women who had in fact abandoned their children, the predominant reason is absolute desperation. Most of the women had been abandoned by their family, by the father of their child, by their community, and especially by government. So they hadn't been provided with any support networks. They were barely able to support themselves. And in many instances, they'd been told by their family, you cannot bring another child into this home, so you need to do something. And because there was no one to assist them, they made a desperate choice to abandon their child. So I must be honest, I felt desperate sympathy and empathy for the women I engaged with during my research, because they really were desperate and nobody was prepared to help them. Bottom line, in South Africa, we don't care for women. We don't care for young women, especially in vulnerable positions, like when they are having a pregnancy and it's a crisis pregnancy. Remembering that most young women, their first sexual experience, when I say that, over 50% of young women in South Africa, their first sexual experience is non-consensual, which means it's rape. So many of the abandoned children that we are encountering are a result of rape. We also have huge challenges around government not providing solutions to women who are not in South Africa legally. So they possibly are refugees, and they're informed if they try and place their child into a place of safety that they must take their child and themselves back to their country of origin, often where they are being persecuted and there is no, they're suffering and there is no support. I think another major challenge is in terms of our current law, if you are below the age of 18 and you want to have an abortion, you can go at any age to a clinic and you can request an abortion will be given to you. However, if you want to place your child up for adoption, you are not able to do that. You have to get the consent of your parents. And in many instances, either the parents don't exist, these children have been abandoned themselves, or and so they're on their own, or this is the one reason they don't want to speak to their parents about it. They're in a crisis and they are feeling unable to do this. So, major issue in South Africa, I think representative of many of our child protection challenges and our social challenges in this country. And it has not been dealt with, I believe, at all by government. In fact, it's often ignored and often used as an excuse to really punitively punish the child protection individuals and organizations who are actually trying to solve this problem. So yeah, a real issue, and something that as South Africans we all need to really get on board with and support and try and address.